Well, hey there, friends and neighbors. Welcome back to Comic Industry Insiders Live, where it is our joy to talk about comics every Tuesday at 2 p.m. EST, or wherever it is that you are in the world. We already are seeing our good friend Christina always in the chat. If you are not already, you should definitely join into the chat because that's part of how it sculpts the show as we do it. Today we have a really packed show. We have a big announcement for Prana Direct Market Solutions, the company that I work with. We have a huge announcement that connects us even further with our friends of the experience. Then we're going to get into the Kickstarter of it all. We've been talking this week on social media and in our newsletter about how the direct market and Kickstarter and crowdfunding, how these two things can work together to help build publishers, to help build new brands, new IP. It is, yes, Django, I am moving. It is an ever evolving thing that everybody seems to have opinions on. It's getting there. You don't want to know what's underneath that blanket. Anyway, Kickstarter and direct market, in the past, they've been really antithetical, and we don't see why that should be. In fact, at Prana, we tend to use both to build brands, and we're going to dig into some of the details of how that should work, how it's currently working, and how all of the different stakeholders are involved. But before we do that, we're going to kick it off. And Kyle, let's go. We're going to be talking about the pledge and the pull list. Now, before we jump into that part of it, we have a huge announcement that we've been working on for weeks, where I already did the rundown, man. This is what we're doing. We're doing this. But first, before we do that, see, when Brian is here, he keeps me on track. Otherwise, I just ramble. I need Brian Garside. Wherever you are, Brian, please come back. Before we get into all that, please check out pranadm.com. Go ahead and sign up for our weekly newsletter, The Bullet. We put this together every week as a summary of what's happening in the world of comics, in the comics industry, gives you just a kind of a bite-sized nugget to go into your weekend and give you a little bit of a look at some of the things that we're working on. This week, I'm sure we'll be talking about our huge announcement for this week. So let's kick it off, shall we? That's right. We are hiring Jamie Yoakum. Oh, shit. I'm sorry. Gabe Yoakum. Gabe is joining
you spelled my last name wrong. What are you doing?
I didn't do it. Kyle did it.
Kyle, come on, man. We're friends on Facebook.
Kyle.
Where do you think I stole the picture?
Oh, good call. Yeah, all right. Fine. you couldn't read the last name though. That's fine.
Yeah, no, I couldn't.
For those of you who don't know Jamie and Gabe, whatever, Gabe, I have how long have we known each other now, buddy? It's been
10 the 2025, that's 10 years. So yeah, I started with Double Take. I think we met in the summer of 2015. Yeah.
That's incredible. I remember that lunch where you, me, and Bill Jemis sat down and we talked about how you can't build a comics publishing company by doing big deals with big box stores. You have to work with comic shops, right? Like we said, it's all ground game, right?
You're giving me goosebumps right now because I was gonna try to find a way to talk about this, but you just opened the door for me, pal. You can say a lot about Bill Jemis, and people have said a lot about him.
Oh, sure.
But he listened to you during that lunch, and that summer and into that fall and early winter, every single weekend, I rented a car and I drove up and down the Eastern Seaboard, and I went to something like 165 comic shops over the course of those months.
Oh,
and
God.
That, thanks to you, is where I fell in love with this.
Oh.
And it's true. Like, it sounds like a line, and believe me, I use it as a line, but it's also the truth, and both sometimes have to be true, right? Especially in business. And it led me, granted, I didn't drive to Houston, but it led me to people like Jen King. It led me to people like Jen Haynes, because I didn't drive to Canada either. I don't know that they'll let me in. But then, it gave this intense appreciation for these incredible humans that put their entire livelihoods into 500 square feet or 1,000 square feet or 150 square feet of ink and paper. It's
100%.
everything that they have is all in that shop. And there's just, if you can't fall in love with that, you can fall in love with nothing because you have no soul. And so I don't want any part of it. You know, I've done a lot since then, but my heart's always stayed here. And over the past couple of months, talking with you and some other people about the industry, I've been itching to get back. So this day is monumental for me.
Well, so much of the work that we're going to have you do, and let's talk about that for a minute before we get into the big announcement, the partnership. So much of the work we're going to have you do came out of the work that you did for Reed Pop, right? And for the other event spaces that you've been in. So let's talk a little bit about what your role in looking for sponsorship opportunities and partnerships and business development. What is your role going to be at Prana?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's talking to publishers and talking to those people that want to reach the and I hate using this word, so don't slap me around, and maybe I shouldn't, but want to reach the influencers in the space. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like just like every other industry, there are influencers in the direct market. And you know, I've already said her name once. We'll say it 1,000 more times a day. Jen King's at the forefront of that.
Yep.
It's why what I think you're doing is particularly special, because you're one of them too, pal. Thank you. Everybody knows Adam's name because of the years and years of grind that he's put in and his ability to share the love of comics that he's got. It's incredibly catchy, as it were, with him. When you're around him, you want to, you're a hell of a motivator. That's for sure. You just want this industry to do better when you're around. And it's because you genuinely want it to do better.
Buddy, I got to get through this whole show. Don't make me tear up this early. All right. Well, I can tell you that one of the reasons that we're so excited to have you is the deep, deep connections that you have to all the people who are looking to build businesses in this space. One of the things that we've seen is that comic shops are an incredible place to build brand. They're an incredible place to build IP. Really tough place to make any money. We're going to get into that a little bit later in the conversation, but the incredible place to build companies because of all those micro influencers, all of those neighborhood stores that have a hold on their fans' attention. And so as that is the case, we set up this partnership, one of a kind, with The Experience. You're probably watching this show on The Experience Network right now. You can hit that next slide up if you want.
We'll never let it be said I'm not fast enough to fix my misspellings in the middle of a show.
Hey, all right.
There you go. The kerning's a little off. But let's bring in Kyle, and let's bring in Miss Jen, who are the backbone of The Experience. This is an incredible network. For those of you who are watching on the Prana channels or the Managed Comics side, you may not have experience with The Experience, but let me tell you, it is this incredible network of communities, of programming around the space that I know just from, I mean, you tell me, Jen, is the goal of The Experience is really to kind of recreate what you do there at the shop on YouTube and on the internet, right?
Yeah, we, as part of my many years in the industry, I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I'm old. I kind of noticed that there were people that lived in big, urban areas like mine, Houston, LA, New York. They had access to some of the top comic book stores that there are around. And they like, it was just a huge amount of options for them. But there are a ton of people that live in America that they have to drive an hour or 2 hours to get to any comic book store, and they want to support them. But for lack of any options, they don't know what to do. So I was like, we've had this dream for a long time. Like, how do we help people reach local comic shops, and how do we as local comic shops reach people that want to be reached? And also to draw new eyes, like people that wouldn't necessarily be a comic book store person, or they don't see themselves in that way, to let them know that comic book stores have changed. They're not what they were in the 80s and 90s any longer. They're very friendly, open, bright places that people go and sit around and talk about comic books with each other, or wrestling, or whatever else you want to talk about. We're down for it.
And create those pockets of community, right?
Yeah.
They really become that sort of oasis of community. And I love that you guys have tried so hard to create that oasis of community for live selling, for the programming that you do, including our show. Kyle, I know that you work at this 24/7. I know that I've talked to you working from your hospital bed. You above all have put so much time and effort into this experience that is the experience. Talk about what it means to people and why it's such a good place for marketing and sales and advertising dollars.
Well, there's two stories that I kind of tell when I go to this, which is, first, we have a regular viewer named Lyle who lives in the Arctic Circle. Not kidding. He is a U.S. government contractor, lives in the Arctic Circle. He doesn't have a local comic shop because it's him and some dog sleds. But he comes to the experience and he can buy comics from great local comic shops from around the country. He can engage in the conversations you have in your local comic shop from the Arctic Circle. It's like 7 degrees there right now when it's 100 degrees where I'm at. Like, that's the beauty of this. But the reason it's great for everybody, the reason that I think it's open to a lot of partnership opportunities, is that there's such a diverse group of folks that have come together to make the experience happen and have come together to be the viewership of the experience. You know, we have Jen and Nancy McCann, who literally knows everybody. Ask her. She's met them all. Who's been in comics in every facet of the game. She worked for a distributor. She's been a retailer. She's been a retailer in rural Tennessee now. We have Rich Davis and Henri Compen, who are creators, and Rich Davis is also a retailer. You know, we have Nick from Dynamite and the Dynamic Forces guys, and they were doing this direct to consumer on the TV thing before anybody.
That's true.
So
yeah, Nick was one of the first people to do. I think he was legitimately doing it back when the QVC was the only way you could sell books on TV, right? Yeah.
I still have videos of him with a mullet with Scott Hanna that he says don't exist, but I've got them. We're going to run him out for something.
Love it. At some point, we're going to shame him into coming on this show. We'll not use that. Yeah.
But no, and then our viewers are so diverse as well. We've got people from 15 to 100 almost. Like, we've got people of all different abilities, all different exposures to the industry, people who like to come to shows like this, people who like to just come when we do fantasy casting. You know, they want to talk about who should be the new Captain America. Everything points back to the local comic shop and that experience you have in the local comic shop. But you can do it from your couch if you have to.
I love that.
We still want you to go to your local comic shop.
Please do. Absolutely. And I know plenty of people, I've talked to plenty of people who are active at their local comic shops and active at the experience because they're not ready for the experience to be over when they leave their local. Gabe, talk really quickly. I know that you and I talked a lot about how our experience in running this magazine, ZCN, that is in comic shops everywhere. It is we circulate it through comic shops. There roughly 25,000 copies go out to fans every month. We do it for free. We gets it to the fans for free, and it really is run by advertising. And it's been our experience in building this that allowed us to confidently take on this job. Can you talk just really quickly, and I know that we want to get into the rest of the programming for today, but talk really quickly about what the opportunity is here, why the experience is their next step.
The opportunity here is, more than anything else, you look at something like a Whatnot where there is no community. This is the differentiator, right? When you have folks that are doing that, and it's raining outside, so now you're going to all meet my daughter and my wife.
This is really great green screen that you've got here.
We're driving to Great Wolf Lodge.
Okay.
I know, very exciting. But the big thing is that community that we're going to be able to build together. And that's what's going to be particularly interesting to publishers, to other shops getting involved, so on and so forth. And I think Adam's actually having some internet trouble at this point, because I don't see his face anymore. Maybe that's just on my side, but
it might be.
That's the goal that I have in mind.
I love it. Well, I will let you go and let you guys head out for your
getting
trip.
to the point where we're talking to folks about how to take advantage of that community that's being built, as opposed to popping onto Whatnot for 30 seconds, grabbing a comic and running away. It's about like truly connecting with the fan.
Awesome. I wanted to jump in, Jen, if you don't mind sticking around. I'd love to hit you really quickly before we take off. But thank you both, Gabe. Thanks so much for jumping on. Jen, Kyle, we're really looking forward to working with you. I think this is phenomenal. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Awesome. Now, without further ado, because we're going to lose one of our bigger guests, we want to talk about how crowdfunding and comic shops can coexist. This is one of those pieces where I really do believe firmly that there's an ecosystem for comics, and that crowdfunding has become an essential part of that for most publishers. Before we lose his time, I want to bring in Sam Cusick. Sam, would you please jump in? If you don't know, Sam, I've not seen this incredible little giveaway. Look at that photo of you. It's wonderful.
If you look, I think it's the first page. You can see me in my workspace, and my cat is in there, which is a big goal for the zine, is to get as much of my.
I have,
things.
Of course, having had a meeting with you where the cat and/or the baby makes an appearance. I definitely say that's an essential part of the Sam Cusick experience. I wanted to talk about your, no, it's a hard transition out from that announcement, so I apologize for the audience getting a little bit of whiplash, but we didn't want to lose Sam. Can you talk a little bit? I know you have an incredibly, much like Gabe and you have a really deep experience with comic shops going into your role at Kickstarter. So let's talk a little bit about what your experience is and what your current role is at Kickstarter.
So my current role is the senior outreach lead for the comics category at Kickstarter. We have different really subject matter experts within categories at Kickstarter who are able to talk to the specific needs of each category. So we have some people for games, for publishing, for film. And my role is to really talk to any and all creators who are interested in running projects on the site. So if you want to do your first single issue, or if you've been publishing for a while and you want to do a trade, or in some cases, if you're a major publisher who's looking to go and open up more of a direct-to-consumer vertical, I'm there to provide guidance in terms of what works and what doesn't work. And the interesting thing about Kickstarter, it's a 16-year-old platform, so there is a lot of historical data and decisions that I can draw from and help to guide and influence some of the information. But, similar to what you've talked about here, and what we've just seen in the industry, is there is a real opportunity for crowdfunding campaigns to get their books into comic shops. I have found some really great comics that I love. I think of Lucky Pocket Press's Knapsack Magazine as a great example, or Daniel Warren Johnson's Extremity hardcover edition. Those are things that I found in comic shops that I then later learned were funded through Kickstarter. And it's a great surprise to be able to learn about these really great books that are appearing in comic shops through crowdfunding. And I only have a limited amount of time, so I think I'll skip ahead to some of the functionality that we're seeing. But Kickstarter has been in this really sort of place of rapid technological rollout, right? You've probably seen things like featured rewards or the pledge manager that has come out earlier this year, where people are able to now charge for post-campaign shipping and the collection of addresses. But one thing that we've rolled out that I think really helps in this case is this a functionality called a secret reward. So if you're on Kickstarter, if you don't know crowdfunding at all, you are able to offer rewards to backers as a way for them to pledge towards your campaign, and they can get a certain amount of a book or a certain amount of things, price scaling depending on what that all is. A secret reward, those are all public for the most part. A secret reward is something that you can create that will be only accessible by a specific URL. And so if you wanted to create, say, a retailer tier through your Kickstarter campaign, you can create that via a secret reward and then reach out to retailers directly. In the past, retailer tiers have only really been on the site, publicly facing, and it's been difficult, I think, for some people to wrap their heads around because there's not a great way for us to verify who is and who isn't a retailer. And I think some retailers feel a little turned off because if anyone has access to it, it doesn't always feel like it's a special or a specific thing to them. So a secret reward really allows you to speak more directly to your retailers, continue to, build those relationships, which I think for some independent creators, it's so vitally important. If you have a local shop you could go do a signing at down the street from you and continue to build community or a place you've already been, it's a great way to just talk to people directly. Sorry, I threw a lot at you, but I wanted to make sure I got all those important points out.
I would love to. I know that we're actually in the process of, for clients, building 1, 2, 3 different Kickstarters. So I would love to hear more about those secret rewards, and also like maybe even do a write-up for our newsletter that goes out on Friday.
Yeah, that'd be great. I can, I will send you an email. There's a link if you search on our website, or if you just search secret rewards via Kickstarter, there should be a blog post that gives you some good high level information and then some more knowledge articles that get more into the nitty gritty of how you can do it. But it's open to anybody, something that you can utilize right now. And I am trying to do my best to find those retailer tiers, some that are regularly available if there are any, and include them in my newsletters. I have a comic-specific newsletter that goes out at the end of every month. And if there are retailer tiers that I want to get people's eyes on, I've been trying to include those as well and have retailers sign up to that newsletter. So I'm definitely, there's such an opportunity to bridge the gap right now with so much uncertainty in the space, and to have people who frankly wouldn't be able to get into regular distribution spaces for a myriad of reasons, just like cut out the middleman and elevate their business and their creativity in a big way.
I would say that, like, so much of, you're right, that so much of the chaos that's been happening in distribution in our space, really, for me, the lesson is always that you need to begin with audience first, right? You need to build the audience for your product before you try and go into shops, before you try and go into bookstores, before you try and go into mass market. You really need an audience first, and crowdfunding is a really incredible way of doing that. How do you recommend people who are just getting started, though? Like, are their first steps if they've never put out anything, they don't have a mailing list, they don't, what is that step one that I want to make comics and I think this is my way in? How do you think about that progress for them?
A couple of things. I know I did a panel with Charlie Stickney at San Diego Comic-Con, and I see that I'm assuming it's Carl from 24/7 Comics is
What's up,
here.
Carl?
Hey, Carl. We got that question on the panel of how to start, and really, I think a lot of it. I recommend 2 things. One, if you're able to put any content online for free, either through a platform like itch.io, or I make RPGs, so I did Drive-Thru RPG, but finding a way where people can buy in and get a sense of your material or preview of your material and start reading and just, buy-in of their own self-interest, I think is really great. And finding a way to find some natural followers that way. Give yourself time to let your work breathe and let people find it. And then for your initial crowdfunding campaign, I mean, I think the first start really is like asking your friends and family. I don't think they're going to come back for every subsequent campaign, but it's a great way for you to get started and to find some success with that, natural love and companionship and camaraderie you have in your life. And then lastly, I encourage people to do this, and I encourage those more seasoned creators to do this as well. Like, reach out to other creators that you feel like your work vibes with or that you admire. See if they're willing to offer or spend some time with you, 30 minutes to an hour of just talking about here's what I'm trying to do. What have your experiences been? Obviously, don't ask for the moon, or don't over ask and be like, hey, you're my buddy now, you're my teacher. Like, be respectful of people's time, but it never hurts to ask. The worst that somebody can say is no, or they could say, I can't do this for you, but I could put you in touch with this person. So much of the community is being proactive and letting people, or so much of getting into community is being proactive and letting people know what you need and putting it out into the world, rather than waiting for somebody to come find you. You may be sitting on a really great comic, but nobody's going to know about your stuff until you put it out into the world,
I love that. And I love that idea of, beginning with generosity. Like, here's this thing I made. I made this. What do you think? Right. And I made this. Is this good enough to show your friends? Is this good enough to share? Right. I think that idea of beginning from a place of abundance and saying, this is something I'm working on. This is a story I want to tell. I always think if you can start from that place, you can build a cohort, you can build an audience, you can find the mentors, you can find the people who are like you. And I love that you're starting from that place. Sam, pure joy every time I see you. If you are a fan of Sam, as you should be, go back. We did an incredible interview with him on Comic Industry Insiders. It's in our backlist. Please go and check it out. It was really early on. I'm looking forward to finding out what embarrassing things he said that he wouldn't say now. But as always, it is a joy to see you. And I know you have a heart out, so I want to respect that. But thank you.
Adam, thanks for your time. Thanks for asking me to be on. And if anybody's going to be at FlameCon this weekend, I'll be there in New York, and I'll be at SPX later in the year. But feel free to hit me up if you haven't already, and I'll be happy to help you in whatever way I can. But have a good rest of your day. Thanks for having me on.
Wonderful. Thanks, Sam. All right. So that's the big wig, Sam himself. He is legitimately and one of the most generous people I've talked to in helping you find what are the best practices. But even as he said, like, he is really great at helping you find an audience before you begin crowdfunding. So I would want to stick with that. So we're going to get even deeper into the thesis of this show, which is that sort of ecosystem where crowdfunding and comic shops meet. And we have a couple of other guests that we're going to bring in to talk about this. Charlie Stickney is one of, of the people that I've met. I first met Charlie when he was in just kind of traditional comics publishing that's going into comic shops. And since then, he has built a legitimate business around crowdfunding his books into that market and creating an incredible audience. So I'd love to bring Charlie to the screen. Charlie, thank you for joining us today. I think you're on mute, as a little icon says. That's okay.
Trying to be respectful. There you go.
I appreciate that. No, I do. Would that everyone were as respectful. So talk to us about this. Where did you, when you first began the idea of, I'm going to begin crowdfunding, did you have much of an audience? Because at this point, like, first I want you to talk about what is the White Ash comics? What is the size of it? What is the scope? And where did you begin?
Okay. Yes. And I just want to quickly piggyback on the secret rewards that Sam was talking about, because I think there's another bit of functionality before I forget. For those. And this is something, when you put that thread up on Facebook that retailers were talking about, where they didn't want to have to pay in advance, right? Yeah. And I think one of the hardest things with offering retailer tiers is you don't want to undercut what you're offering to your backers. So by having it as a secret reward for retailers, you don't show your regular backers what you're offering to retailers at, technically a wholesale price. But the other thing that you could do is you could technically offer that retailer tier for $1. So they're not paying anything up front. And then the shipping charges that you charge on the back end when the book ships would
include the wholesale for the books.
Yeah.
That right there. There's the tip. That's, by the way, Blake, if you're watching this, this is the clip we're going to go with to promote this thing. That's incredible. So the secret tier allows you to sell at wholesale through because that's always been my problem with the retailer tier is the money up front. It doesn't make any sense for the retailer.
Right. So I think this is the kind of thing with Kickstarter's new pledge pledge manager where you can charge shipping post campaign, you could sort of customize all of that. And you say to the retailer in the secret tier, this is what you can sell the books for. This is what I'm going to charge you per unit. We're going to charge you $1 up front. When the book ships, you're going to get this bill, which will include shipping, or even, if you're offering it to them for free shipping or whatever you're doing, you can charge them the bulk of that on the back end when the book ships. And
that's incredible.
And so I think that's a great way to sort of answer some of the questions that the other retailers were talking about, about trying to make this more practical and also not alienating your backers who are your loyal followers, that you're sort of offering this tier to retailers. So I just wanted to sort of get into that before I forgot, because I thought that was such an important bit in making this.
No, I really appreciate that. That's wonderful. That's an incredible tip. And I hope that everybody who is considering doing crowdfunding, including me, honestly, I think that you just changed our strategy on at least one campaign. So that's incredible. I hope everybody on my team is watching, because we're going to be talking about this later. But again, let's go back.
Yeah.
Charlie Stickney, you're coming out of publishing. When I first met you, we don't need to dig too deep into the secret origin of Charlie Stickney, but I'm curious to know about where you were when you started White Ash and where it is now.
So for me, it was actually before I got to publishing, I started in crowdfunding. And that was mostly because I was looking at the numbers in the direct marketplace when you could sort of get an estimate. And I saw the numbers that creator-owned series were doing. And I knew I wanted to build something that was sustainable long-term. And I didn't think, the odds were really good I was going to be able to do that as a new creator in the direct marketplace. And that's not, any shade on the direct marketplace, because it's just so hard for them to market a creator they've never heard of before.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was coming from, I'd worked in film and animation. So, I've been a professional writer for a long time. So I had this vision for this big epic series I was going to tell, White Ash. And that's what brought me to crowdfunding, because I figured I could take a risk on myself, see how it goes, see if I could build an audience. And so when I started the first one, I had very small social media following. I had no presence in comics at all. And so for me, it was a ground roots effort that I started. And the first campaign did really well. I think part of that was we had killer art. Connor Hughes, who is my partner, has gone on. He's working with Kirkman now. He's great. He's the artist on Void Rivals right now. So he's wonderful, and I think that really helped us sort of at the very beginning. But I built it for a little while. I was picked up by a publisher. I ended up becoming co-publisher of that company that I was at for a little while, and then eventually I kind of realized that both being at that publisher and also the direct market was not really a fit at that time, because I think it's really hard for direct market stores to be able to market books from creators they don't know and IP they don't know in numbers that can sustain a series. So that kind of brought me back to crowdfunding. And here, we are one of the largest independent brands on the Kickstarter platform. Our campaigns range from anywhere from 1,000 to 1,800 backers per single issue of a book, which is really great when you're not G.I. Joe.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's a fantastic. Most of the successful campaigns I see are in the successful ones are in the 300 to 500 range. The fact that you're hitting 4 digits just on the backers is incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where I've always concentrated, sort of building my backer base versus building, how much money can we make? So because long-term, it's the people who support you. So, for me at this point, we have a very sustainable business model. We do really well on the Kickstarter platform. So I'm looking for ways to partner both with retailers in ways that make sense to bring our books back, because there is some, at least a small fan base still in comic book shops for the material. And the question is whether it's going direct to retailers or whether it's partnering with someone larger to sort of who has that umbrella already with retailers to distribute books. And I think that's kind of the choice that a lot of Kickstarter creators will need to sort of reconcile with themselves in terms of how big is your brand? Is it really of value to a publisher? Is it really of value to more than 3 or 4 stores? Where does that sort of fall? Be realistic about it, and then trying to find the best path that works for both retailers and for your business model to put you in stores.
you actually bring up a really wonderful piece, and that's part of the conversation that we're having is about retailers. So I thought this would be a great opportunity for us to bring in one of my favorite retailers, a serial entrepreneur who owns multiple comics and game stores, just opened a coffee shop, and is now on his second or third, I don't know how many Kickstarter or campaigns he's done for his own publishing line. The Memphis, Tennessee's own Shannon Merritt. Look, the sexy Santa is here. I mean, how you doing, buddy? I'm so glad to have you on. Listen, I felt such FOMO for my own show when you got interviewed by Brian and Django that it was so irritating that I didn't get an opportunity to do that rundown with you. So I'm so glad you're able to join us.
Well, I couldn't say no to them, but first of all, thanks for having me. Your face.
It's a joy. It's a joy always to have you on. So I wanted to talk to you really quickly. First, in your role as a retailer, talk about your businesses, your history as a retailer, and how you kind of think about product in your stores.
Okay, so I started with a comic book store. That was the comic book store was my first business. Also, it was my first passion, love. I really, to be honest with you, I didn't have any clue what I was doing, and I'm still learning every day, almost 10 years later. Give me the question again, Adam.
That's all right. First, let's talk about what are the names of your stores. You have multiple stores at this point, right?
Yeah. So I've got we're 901 Comics. 901 Comics in Midtown was my first store. Did that 9 years ago. I kind of thought I was going to be a side business to my main job, which I found out very quickly that was not going to work out like that. First of all, my attention and my passion for it took over, and I didn't want to be at my old job anymore.
Right.
So I basically took a chance and said that, okay, I'm going to try this for a year, and if it doesn't work out, I'm going to go back to being a police officer, that's what I was doing. And then I realized after about a year that I didn't want to go back, no matter if I wasn't making any money. But I also realized that one store split between two people because I do have a business partner, Jamie Wright. I couldn't have done it without him. I had to expand to be able to maintain a lifestyle that I was comfortable with. So I opened up a game store. Then we ended up opening up a second comic book store. Memphis was a very large metropolitan area, but not very many comic book stores, game stores. Matter of fact, there wasn't even a game store in town when I opened up 901 Games. Then we opened up 901 Comics East. And then I opened up a toy store, 901 Toys. You can see a theme here. So 901 is the area code everybody's going. People from out of town are always like, you mean you have 901 games or 901 books or 901 toys? No, it's the area code of Memphis, and people in Memphis really identify with it. I'm kind of a homer, so everything's focused in community in Memphis. I want to create communities. I want to create gathering spaces where people can hang out, because to be honest with you, it's something I didn't have as a younger person. I didn't have those places to congregate at, and I kind of wanted those places, and I wanted to provide those places for people. And that's kind of like my little story.
Thank you. Before you were a publisher, so you were a retailer first, and this ever like gotta catch 'em all game of Pokemon you seem to be playing with comic shops and retail stores. You obviously had to think about the product that was going into your store, much to go back to Charlie's point about, small publishers. Really, the struggle is how do you crack through to a retailer's product mix?
Well,
how are you thinking about that?
So this is so really, truly, like, I am so naive about all this, right? It's not like in Memphis, I'm kind of isolated. I didn't have like contacts in the comic book industry. I didn't know other comic book store owners that would talk to me, at least at the time. I didn't know anything about it. I just knew that, like, I'd heard about a store in Oregon called Dark Horse that they started publishing their own comics. And I did a little bit. I literally did just a bare minimum of research to be like, you know what? They can do that.
I can do it.
I can do it too. So I started out about 6 months after I opened the comic book store. I just kind of created. I just was like, you know what? Let's just see what happens. I created an event on Facebook, and I said, hey, if you ever thought about making comics, if you ever thought about, if you're an artist or if you're a writer and you want to do something, why don't you come up to 901 Comics? Let's talk about it. And I had a meeting. About 25 people showed up. I ended up with about, the first group was about 10 to 12 people. We put together an anthology. We published it locally through a local printer, which was insane.
Sure.
It was, and we basically funded it by, we did a benefit concert, and we sold ads, local ads, and we published 500 of those, sold out. And we took a couple of those stories that were in that anthology, and we're like, hey, this has legs. And then we started, first one we did was Stone Ninja, #1. That was a project a long time in the making. So I had a friend of mine that was writing it for like 20 years. He was trying to write it as a movie and a TV series. And I was like, no, just do a comic. Do a comic, and all the other stuff will come later if it actually happens.
That's right.
And so he got teamed up with a professional artist here locally. And so now the first 3 issues of Stone Ninja, we didn't crowdfund. We sold ads, and we got enough money to pay for the printing by selling local ads to local people. And we published we printed 2,200 copies of the first one, and it kind of degraded from there. We moved to Kickstarter and crowdfunding stuff because of the pandemic.
Oh, fascinating. Okay.
We had pretty much sold out of every printing up to that point, and we're gaining some momentum. And we had our 3rd anthology that completely sold out within like 2 weeks. So we were like, hey, we're feeling pretty good about this, And then the pandemic happened, and everything just kind of slammed shut. And then we started kickstarting. I did not. I will tell you that. Stone Ninja Comics, because they had their momentum, they started kickstarting things with my backing. And it was also, so the name of my publishing company is Bad Dog Comics. It's done. It's all just local stuff. Up until we started doing the Kickstarters for Bad Dog last year. And we had our first Bad Dog Kickstarter where we kickstarted 2 comics. And then we did a recent one that we just kickstarted 3 comics, which has been our most successful one yet. But going back to what's in my stores, and like what's crazy about it is that I know how hard it is, because I know I receive multiple postcards a week. I receive free copies of comics. I receive all these things. And my response is somewhat similar to a lot of other comic book shops that have a response. The same response to me when I tell them, hey, you need to back the retailer thing for Stone Ninja because it will sell, which is small independent publisher comics do not sell in my store.
Yeah.
And I don't have the shelf space. So learned that really quickly. So
it is a difficult concept for many people who've never run a comic shop to understand. Back in the, I want to say late 90s, there was a book called The Long Tail that basically predicted where we are now with things like Spotify and Amazon, where anything that is available is always available. As a consumer, you can get almost anything immediately. But stores really have to decide that they have a very short tail. They have to, at some point, you have to cut it off and say, if this is not going to sell within a certain period of time, I can't afford the shelf space. I can't afford the product dollars to put it in the store. And I think that a lot of small press really have to, like, they really struggle with the idea that I made this. I worked really, really hard to make something good. Why aren't you buying it? You know, is there ever a moment of now that you've gone through this process, do you have any sort of guilt in saying that to this budding publisher?
Yeah, so for sure. I mean, I know the struggle, right? I mean, I've seen it, I've done it, and I know. I mean, to be honest with you, most of the time I look at the quality of the book, and I usually know, and probably just like other comic book shop owners who are like huge comic book people. You open up a book and 3 or 4 pages into it, you know whether it's quality or not.
Yeah.
If it's quality and it catches my eyes, I'm so sorry, my dog. Evie, no.
We can't hear her. She's fine.
Yeah, but she's about to tear stuff up.
Okay. Bad dog, Evie.
She's called
bad dog.
She's called Evil Evie for a reason. So, so let me go. Okay.
It's okay.
But I told it, but you know, and once again, then if it catches my eye and I feel like it's a quality thing and I can go through it, I'm probably, you know, I'm like, okay, you know, maybe. I will tell you that every local independent comic that comes in my door, I put it on the shelf.
That's right. There you go.
I even, you know, I'm not gonna, you know, as long as its content is okay to put on my shelf, you know, as long as it's not, you know, violent or, you know, any kind of controversial things, I'm gonna put it on my shelf because, you know, they're taking the effort to come in, and they took the effort to make this thing, then I'm gonna give them a chance to sell their stuff. And I don't charge commission. I just let it, whatever they sell, I just give it to them.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. But yeah, I know. I feel bad. There's some people out there that do some stuff, and I put their stuff on my shelf and never sold a single issue, and they keep hitting me up, and I'm like, man, I can't afford to
yeah, I feel that. You know, the thing that I love most about what you said, and it echoes something that Charlie said, and I'd like to talk to you a bit more about that, is both of you you talk about starting from a place of community, right? Shannon, for you, it was about time and place. It was about, are you a comics creator here in Memphis? Can we do an anthology? Charlie, you talked a lot about community, about, you know, bringing in your friends and your family at the beginning. How does that sort of that community, how does that carry you through now? How are you, Charlie, how are you encouraging, actually for both of you, how are you encouraging those who have jumped into your story to stick around? What sort of interaction do you have with that fan base? Start with Charlie.
Well, for me, thankfully, the Kickstarter platform gives you a lot of opportunities to have direct communication with your backers. And so I do a lot with updates. Often I have a newsletter that goes out that people can sign up for. And I have a lot of return backers. They're very loyal to the universe. They're very loyal to what I'm building. And so for me, it's something I can count on. I think also when it comes to, you know, again, because I think part of this is about putting Kickstarter books in stores. I think if you're doing that, you know, you as a creator also have a responsibility to try to find a way to, you know, motivate that fan base to also go get things in shops, right? And so it's finding ways to either create something unique for the stores or finding ways that you can, you know, get people excited who are already your fans to buy either the book again, a slightly different version of the book, or at least check out their local stores. Maybe it's at a different price point. They can only afford the digital on Kickstarter, but maybe they can afford the cheaper version that you're offering through the shops. So for me, I think it's both making sure that you're in contact, making sure you deliver on what you promise in a timely fashion, or at least communicating with them, and maintaining the quality, and then being able to sort of take that loyalty and use it in different marketplaces.
What about you, Shannon? Talk about how you are now that Bad Dog has started this this sort of Memphis revolution of publishing. Talk about what the role of that community has in continuing to build that.
So we obviously have a very strong local core of followers for Stone Ninja and some of our other publications now. We have a built-in base locally in Memphis that once we know that we do the Kickstarter, that we just know that certain people are going to back it. And that's our main goal, is to get those Kickstarter things fulfilled, get reach that goal, and then with that extra money, pay our artists and writers, and then we publish the rest, and then we print up as many copies as we can, and then we put them on our shelves at our stores, and then I drive everywhere I go. I carry stacks of comics, and I just every comic book store I see that'll let me drop off a few copies. If they don't want to buy them, I'm just like, hey, just put it on your shelf, it'll sell. I hope that answers your question.
It does actually, and you do inspire another question, because I know the answer to it. Some of the craziest places you've sold Stone Ninja.
Craziest places I've sold Stone Ninja, man. We've been set up in breweries, dispensaries, head shops. We try to find everything that we can. We have rolling papers that we sell at convenience stores. We haven't printed any of those up in a long time. We're just, it's just an eye-catching thing, right? If you're into, cannabis culture and you see Stone Ninja and it's a dude we always say it's more about chopping up baddies than smoking fatties. That's kind of one of our catch lines. We have a sales pitch that we tell people, like, hey, if you hear somebody laugh and they go, Stone Ninja, these are the 2 lines you say, and they will buy every copy that's on your shelf. And it happens all the time.
What are the 2 lines?
We kind of have a marketing plan. And when people order it, we've had some stores, comic book stores, order it, and I send them a sheet and I'm like, hey, this is how you sell it. This is where you put it. You put it eye level somewhere in the store, and somebody that smokes weed, imagine people that smoke weed going into a comic book store. I don't know.
That never happens.
And when they see that, then they open it up and they go, oh, this is actual story. This is actual superhero stuff. I mean, that's kind of what we're going for.
I want to come back around to the 2 things you're going to say, but first I'd love to bring back Miss Jen, who is one of the most, I would say the most generous retailers, both with her time and with the kind of product mix that you bring in. Jen, talk about your, every retailer is constantly bombarded with offers for these kinds of books or products or projects. Can you talk a little bit about your, how you look at that and what your policies are in dealing with that kind of pitch?
Well, I'll be quite honest. Some of what I decide to carry is driven by my relationships with the creators. Like, I've known Charlie for a long time, and I know that he delivers really great product. And then my customers love him. So I will continue to, like I tell people all the time that are creators and they're trying to get into our spaces, I'm like, reach out and make a fandom for yourself, because then people will buy everything you create. They're very loyal in that way, especially to what they consider independent publishers. Even if those independent publishers then go on to work for big 2 or whatever, they still will follow them to the big 2. And I honestly, I'll be real honest with creators when they contact me. It always depends upon what they're offering. If it's something that I feel like I already have a ton of on the rack, and then that I know that space is really focused, those people are loyal to those titles, are not likely to add more money to their spend every week for that one, I'll tell them. In this way, I would say that probably that section is always superheroes, right? It's hard to get people to also spend additional money on indie superheroes, no matter how amazing they might be. But I also find that there are segments of independent writing that I will always find another market for, like, people love sci-fi, people like thrillers, and people like horror. If it's part of that, then it's perfect. So it's I try really hard to give everybody space, but if you do, then sometimes nobody gets seen because there's too much on the rack. It's just like that age-old, you don't need 25 different kinds of ketchup on your aisle at the grocery store. It just overwhelms you. You just need to have like 4 or 5 choices. That sounds great. I mean, that's my Philip Sablik kind of like synopsis from, was it barbecue or jelly or whatever?
I think it was like, barbecue sauce, as I remember the metaphor. Yeah, 100%. I think we're actually looking to have, just looking over at my board, I think we have Philip or possibly coming on the show next month. So we'll probably hit him up for that metaphor again. Wonderful. Thank you guys so much for coming on and talking about this. I want to go around the room and just get a quick, where can people find you and how can they back your current project? Charlie, let's start with you.
Probably the best place to find me is if you're watching this, you're probably a Facebook person, so you can join the White Ash Comics Facebook group. But please reach out to me because next month I'm going to be doing a Master Edition hardcover of the first volume of White Ash, and I will have a retailer tier. It will be affordable for retailers. It will be at a good price. It will be under terms that I think will be enticing to retailers to buy. But that will be a secret link, so we'll need to be in contact for that to work out for you.
And I love that idea. Thank you so much for coming on. Shannon, tell us about where people can find you. And I want you to finish with the 2 lines that you give people in order to close that sale.
Oh, okay. All right. So you can find me, you can find us at 901 Comics or 901 Comics East on Facebook or Instagram. And you can find me at one of my many stores, 901 Comics, 901 Comics East, 901 Toys, 901 Games, and Java Cabana Coffee House, 901 Shipping. So I'm always, like, I've already been to like 4 stores today. So if you're going to find, so the pitch for the Stone Ninja pitch, right?
Let's hear it.
So we have it eye level, comic book shelf. You walk in the store and you can every time you can hear them. They and you don't even have to see their face. And you say,
it's that stoner laugh.
And they go, oh, it doesn't have to be a stoner. Stone Ninja. I mean, oh yeah, that's a really cool comic. It's about a ninja who smokes a mystical strain of weed and it gives him mystical ninja powers. And they automatically go, huh. And then you say, well, it's more about chopping up baddies than smoking fatties. There is some humor in there, but there's a story behind it. And there they go, oh, really? And we don't even say anything about it being published locally. We don't say anything about that. We don't do that until after the sale. That usually, we keep issue 1 through 4 up on the shelf. That usually they walk away with either issue 1 or all 4 of them.
That's what I'm talking about.
We sell about 40 to 50 copies a month out of the store.
Listen, that right there is a strong pitch for any retailer to carry it, because 40 to 50 copies a month. What does that put it in for you, Jen? Where would 40 to 50 copies? What's that? That's got to be a decent DC title, right?
Yeah, I mean that's high selling.
Yeah, I mean,
popular DC goodies.
We've had to reprint Stone Ninja 1. I think we're on our third or fourth printing.
Wonderful.
And so it sells quite a bit. And I'll be honest with you, I probably exaggerated. Probably about 25 to 30.
Don't back it down. Don't back it down. We're already selling.
So we also in an area we got lots and lots and lots of foot traffic. So
all right, good to hear. Shannon, thank you so much. Miss Jen, always a pleasure to see you too. I wanted to close out with a few tips. We talked about this earlier. We had Facebook conversation about this. And one of the things that came out of it was a few tips from a retailer named Mal Briggs. Mal runs Impact Comics in Australia, and legitimately one of the smartest guys that I deal with online, and one of my favorite retailers. He gave these tips. If you are a publisher who is looking to build a Kickstarter and interact with retailers, he came up with these tips. So be honest with your audience. Is your goal to print books to stock in the shops? Be honest what your goal is. Your goal just to go direct to that audience? That's fine too. Just be upfront with everybody. But structure your rewards with that goal in mind. So if your cheaper digital tiers are going to appease the mom and dad supporters that Charlie's talked about earlier, are you using over-the-top tiers? I always recommend this. Anytime you have an experience tier or something that gets people talking, you make sure that those and the exclusive variants are there to appease the super fans, because that's who you really want on board. And a great way to increase the bottom line of that campaign. And the basic standard mid-tier rewards are really what the comic shops are going to be looking for. They're not going to be looking for the hardcovers. They're not going to do a good job with that. They really just want that how do they show your product to their audience? Can we go to the next? I have control. Then, duplicate your marketing strategy. Do everything that you did to promote your campaign when you have product in the store. Make sure that you are giving just as much energy to selling the copies that are in Jen's store that you did to selling your Kickstarter campaign. Because as we said, a successful Kickstarter campaign will get you 300 to 1,000 people. What you want are thousands of people buying these things, and you're not going to get there without the store. So you need to make sure that you're duplicating that energy, putting the energy into promoting, and make sure that you plan your inventory accordingly. Make sure that you are pricing competitively for beyond the shelves. You could and should do two different versions, a version for your campaign and then a version that's going into the direct market shops. If there are some assets that you're putting into the store, we do for our client Recca Publishing, we do The Future Is, and there are the CTF challenges. There are different CTF challenges for the Kickstarters than there are in the stores. So think about what is it going to pull people into the stores, maybe even to double dip. Offer escalating discounts and larger bundles for stores. If they are really getting into it, if they're selling 10, 20, 100 copies, make sure that they are, getting free shipping. Make sure that they're getting a better discount. All of those things that you need to be thinking about in order to grow your brand in the stores will allow you to begin to ratchet that up. I have two quick client announcements that are kind of indicated to this. Retailers, we have a book that was originally offered in a Kickstarter. Tyler Main and his partner, Renee Gerlings, did The Last Spartan, Red Tape. Came out, very successful Kickstarter. We're soliciting it now through Lunar distribution. If you're a fan, please go to your shop and say, I want to pre-order this book. The Last Spartan is a story about Tyler's character coming out of retirement as he was an MP, much like our friend Shannon after his career in law enforcement, then is saving people from human trafficking rings. It's an incredible adventure story. It was written, the creative team is incredible. And if I hadn't been talking for an hour straight, I'd probably be able to recite them. I'm feeling really bad. Blake and Megan, feel free to put it into the chat. And next,
just real quick, Adam, I backed this project when it was on Kickstarter. It was one of my favorite Kickstarters I backed when it came out. It's a great action adventure. I can't wait to see the movie starring Tyler Main.
Absolutely.
And hopefully he wears the mutton chops from when he was Sabretooth, because this book is great.
That's right. And finally, right now, we are just beginning a pre-launch campaign for the Book of Jusko. This is Joe Jusko, the incredible fantasy artist that did those fantastic Marvel Masterworks cards back in the day, and all of your favorite fantasy covers. He's also done incredible comics work. Joe Jusko, finally, we're getting a full retrospective of his entire career. There are pieces you've never seen before. We've got some really cool pieces that are going to be on an entry level, so anybody can get involved in this campaign. This is coming out from Joe Pruitt and Desperado Books. That QR code will take you to it, and we'll make sure that in the comments we also give you a link to the pre-launch page. So make sure that you sign up for that so that you'll know when the pre-launch goes live. And that's it. We're well over time. I got to jump out of here. Please, if you are interested in this, oh, thank you, Blake, Christopher Priest, and Tyler Main. Can't believe I couldn't remember those names. If you are interested in the stuff that we've been talking about here, if you want to get a preview of what we're going to be talking about next week, if you just want a rundown of all the really important pieces, make sure that you sign up for our newsletter, The Prana Bowl. It goes out every week, every Friday. It's a free newsletter. This is not a Substack where I'm going to charge you. Just go ahead and go and sign, and we'll be sending you out the very next one. It goes out Friday when I'm done with it, which is often very late in the evening. I apologize. All right. Next week, we're going to get into this question of sub-distribution. We talked about it. How do you launch a company using, let's make sure that Blake is giving us the link there to sign up for the Jusko pre-launch. We've talked about how you get started in getting it to getting to fans through crowdfunding. Next week, we're going to talk about how sub-distribution works with things like massive NDs, and we're going to talk about a new solution that we've been working on at Prana. So we're really looking forward to building this show for you and looking forward to seeing you here next week. Thanks again, and namaste, y'all.